Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival live from the Trauma Center studios. Now, normally we open with a joke, but due to what happened yesterday in Virginia, it just doesn't seem appropriate. So with that, I want to express my condolences to all the victims' families and friends that were involved. Now, here's your host, Dave Carney.
Welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live, as always, from the Trauma Center studios, both coasts of the country, powered by the Recovery Room. Chad, a horrible incident on the campus of University of Virginia, and 3 of their football players have lost their lives. 2 are in critical but stable condition right now. The University of Virginia, currently 2 games left on their regular season schedule. Chad, no determination being made yet as to whether or not those games will be played. I saw something really powerful last night. The Virginia Tech women's basketball team, Virginia Tech, big rivals, big regional rivals. The Virginia Tech women's basketball team honored the victims and the University of Virginia. It was a really classy move, and what is just one of the most shocking and inexplicable types of events. There really is no way, Chad, and we've covered, unfortunately, a number of these kinds of incidents in our careers, even together, and then there's really nothing to say other than we're thinking of you, and if it's something that you want, I don't know, even some emotional help with, let us know. We'd love to be able to do whatever we can, but there's really nothing you can do to really comprehend why one of these things would happen.
No, and you and I both have had personal losses not too recently, or fairly recently, I should say, and it's hard enough when you lose somebody, but when you lose somebody in this manner, it's I think even harder, and especially when you consider how young these kids are, and they're, just starting their lives, and they have bright futures, and it's just snatched away from somebody that, individually makes a decision to do something like this, which is hard to comprehend. But unfortunately, it happens more often than it should, and it happens all over the world, but it seems to happen more often here. And I don't know what the answers are. And it's not that we're going to be able to litigate and figure that out today, but definitely our hearts go out to, anybody that is related to this any way, shape, or form. Obviously the teammates that were there, that survived, that the guys that are in critical condition. I mean, it's just hard to comprehend. It really is. It's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And we just have to pick up the pieces and move on, all of us collectively. But just a sad day. It's a sad day in sports. We're here to entertain, and we want to talk about fun and cool stuff. And unfortunately, these things come up, and we just have to deal with them. And I just feel horrible for everybody involved.
Chad, there's really, like you've said, there's so much emotion that goes into something like this, and the unexplainable, inexplicable nature of these events is what really, I think, shocks us the most. And not to diminish, any other form of perishing, but there's a certain kind of expectation, right? With certain outcomes, people die of old age, or even, God forbid, you get in a car accident. When something like this happens, though, it really changes the narrative, and it makes your mind question a number of things that maybe previously it didn't. And again, you can't solve these problems today, of course, but Chad, we've in this space walked through so many difficult times in recent years together as a collective, as a P1 collective. This is just another one of those times. And I feel grateful that during these times, we've had the ability to be there for each other as sounding boards and leaning posts. So if that's something that you feel like commenting on, please have at it. We're on Facebook, 2 different places: LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. You can watch us live. You can listen to us live on Podbean. And Chad, for those that subscribe, and this is something I want to remind our listeners and our audience members about, for those that subscribe to us on our Facebook group page, now more than 200 members. Thank you very much for being a part of the program. YouTube or on our Podbean channel, automatic entry to win a pair of Bucks tickets to go see the Milwaukee Bucks take on the Toronto Raptors December 7th at the Fiserv Forum. And that, of course, is thanks to our friends at Absolute Vodka and Jameson Whiskey. So get your Bucks entry slips down at the Recovery Room, or subscribe to YouTube, our Facebook group, or our Podbean, and we'll get you in there.
December 7th, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to throw it out there. Obviously, it's Pearl Harbor Day, but it's also the birthday of Larry Bird. That's right, the Larry legend. His birthday is December 7th, yes. That's why I don't know a lot of sports guys' birthdays, because that's not something I normally keep in my head.
Yeah.
But that is something I happen to know about Larry. Larry is probably one of my favorite athletes of all time. And that sticks in my head. It was December 7th. I think it was 40. No, what was it? 56, I want to say.
That seems about right. It seems about right because my mother was
Getting
born
older.
1956.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. The hick from French Lick, born December 7th, 1956. I'm almost 100% sure that you are right there. And while you're Googling that, we'll say good morning to Neil.
I am right.
Okay. Well, I thought you were looking for the actual year.
No, I was looking for Neil Duda's. I'm looking for Hey Duda's contribution here. By the way, Hey Duda, I am still working on that. That will be done probably by next week. No, I'm not probably. It will be done by next week.
I love this. And by the way, something that I love yesterday, Chad, you and I were talking during the Monday Night Football game, and guys and gals, we got a lot to cover here on the show, right? There's a lot of stuff to talk about with sports, but you and I were talking during that game, and I was cracking up about the Todd Vacuzzi, new promotion, getting a chance to go on the booze cruise, and all of that was just excellent, and it tickled me, and I'd heard it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times in a row on different platforms, and I was tickled. I said, all right, Chad, I got to call you because this thing was just fucking great.
Yeah, and by the way, great game last night, unless you're an Eagles fan. If you're an Eagles fan, you're probably not very happy this morning, but if you're a Commanders fan, you're like, wow, I mean, these guys are scrappy, aren't they?
Yes, they are, and Chad, I've actually got a couple of takes on last night's game, Washington versus Philadelphia. We've also got to take a look at what that Washington win actually did to the Green Bay Packers' chances of making the postseason. So if you're a Packer fan last night, you were really hoping for Philadelphia to get that victory. But Taylor Heineke, scrappy, plucky, and as into it as ever, and those Washington Commanders, they came up with a huge win. Matt Janus, UWL head football coach, is anticipated to join the program in this normal slot here at 8:30 this morning. The Milwaukee Bucks also suffered a big loss last night to the Hawks, but a real scary moment at the Fiserv Forum could have turned a loss into something actually fucking devastating. So stay tuned. We'll come back here on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios.
What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Hey, it's time for koozies, hot tub, and jacuzzis in downtown La Crosse. Whether you're looking to relax after a hard day's work, or maybe you're up for a little soak and poke, we got you covered. That's right, when you're in the market for a hot tub or jacuzzi, all you have to do is call the Coos. 555-SOAK. That's 555-7625.
Soak and poke is a slang term for hot tub sex.
Please practice responsibly.
Yes, back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the one and only Sports Carnival. I eat my tacos over a tortilla. Then when stuff falls out, boom, another taco. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Well.
Sage advice.
That is sage advice. And geez, Chad, tacos, one of my favorite delicacies in the history of the world. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for the Recovery Room, I think I would probably hole away in some Mexican restaurant for the rest of my life, because that food, for whatever it's worth, it seems to have the most, I don't know, it seems to be the kind of food, Mexican food in general, that you have so many different styles of. There's so many different ways that it's done. There's so many different takes from fish and beef and chicken and pork and, good God, breakfast.
Literally and euphemistically speaking, I love tacos.
Indeed. And what kind of taco would you like the most? Is that a Choco taco? Is that a pink taco? These are questions that inquiring minds want to know. That really would be kind of like a great mystery. What if it was like the Pink Panther meets the pink taco? Do you think that we could get we get like a deep fake of Peter Sellers to come back and do that or something, right? He was Pink Panther, wasn't he, back in the day?
Yes. He
was. Okay. So if we could get deep fake Peter Sellers to come back, the Pink Panther versus the pink taco, the mystery unravels.
I'll tell you what, Peter Sellers was a genius, and those Pink Panther films, in my opinion, they still hold up. If you haven't watched it in a while, they still hold up. A lot of those older movies, especially comedies and stuff, and they don't necessarily hold up. Those do. in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are certain, and I've said this to many people through the years, there are certain films, certain actors, though, Chad, that have not just defined a generation, but redefined a generation. Sellers was one of those. This is another hard left turn away from sports, except for Paul Newman played kind of a sports guy in many different films. Paul Newman, to me, was one of those actors. I can watch any Paul Newman movie from any era, and I can find the same satisfaction. Generally, Paul Newman was in an extremely well-directed movie. The casts were generally great. And the other thing, Peter Sellers' Pink Panthers was another one of these testimonies. The great film that they used, the higher quality film, depending on budget of those movies, when you look at them now and they've redigitized them, they jump off the screen like they were made yesterday because it was the film quality. And that's why a guy like Quentin Tarantino actually went back to shooting on 8mm film during the filming of, I think it was The Hateful Eight, which was a great epic, a little bit long, but a great epic. And you can really see there is an actual visible difference. You feel it differently. The movie it's just different. And those old films, Sellers, Pink Panther, great stuff.
Matty Ice. Do you see Matty Ice checking? Okay, you want to go back to that?
No. Let's get Matty Ice.
I just think because he brings up a good point. He says, I still think they should have pulled the flag on that final play. The dude was trying to pull up and slid on his knees. What else was he supposed to do? I agree with that. Here's the thing. I was thinking about this last night, and I'm surprised they don't do this. If the offensive player voluntarily goes down on his knee, they should blow the whistle automatically right there.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't have to touch them to have them down. Like in college football, once your knees down, or you're down, you don't need to be touched for the play to be over with. Because if they're going to pull that kind of bullshit, which I thought that was a bullshit call myself.
Well,
Did you agree?
No, completely. And I think Troyman talked about this after the game. Was it technically the right call by the rule of the law?
Well,
yes,
sure.
It was technically the right call, but it doesn't sit well with you. The thing about last night's game, and I'm glad that we're getting into this now as opposed to the Pink Panther and Pink Taco. By the way, Jimmy Namath says nothing beats a pink taco. And Jason P1 Breacher says the taco is my American pie. That's great? Fantastic. I'm glad you didn't add in cream on that one, Jason. That would have seemed just way different. However, the game last night, there was a couple of calls, Chad, that were absolutely inexplicable that weren't made. One that was made. So that final play, Matty Ice, I agree with you. They should have pulled that flag. But Taylor Heineke did get hit a little harder than he probably needed to.
Yeah.
The face mask, though, that they missed. Right?
Oh, my God.
The face mask that they missed.
Yeah.
That to me is something that if I'm Nick Sirianni, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles this morning, I'm taking that film, which you know that they are, and I'm sending that to the league's competition committee because you need to look at that. The officials that missed that play, and I realize that the officials are humans, and I give officials a lot of credit because that's a tough job to do, right? And they're actually correct in the 95 to 98 percentiles as opposed to whatever else it is people think they're always wrong. They're not. They're mostly always right. But you see a play like that had an incredible impact on the game, right? Because that caused a fumble, which then Washington was able to use and turn around into more points. That would be one of those plays. If I'm Nick Sirianni, look, we lost the game. We're not getting this back. They're not going to come and change the score. However, I need somebody to look at this and explain to me why, as an NFL coach, I shouldn't be fucking livid and go up to that referee and tell him he is a stupid, stupid man. Because that's something that, as a coach, you would have the desire to probably want to do. Like, dude, you're dumb. What are you looking at that I'm not looking at?
The other thing about that is, I know they don't distinguish between the two anymore, but they used to. They used to call one a 5-yard and a 15-yard face mask. In the old school way of officiating, that was a 15-yarder too, because he pulled that down. He actually used that for the tackle. It wasn't just a graze. It was a full-on pull and yank his head, and obviously made a difference. And part of the reason why that they ended up being in a turnover. I agree with you. That was missed. I thought that last call, as Matty Ice mentioned, I thought that I was, again, technically correct. I get that. But I don't know how else that defender was supposed to be able to, what was he supposed to do? Just totally dive out of the way? Because still by the rule, even though he was down on a knee, you have to touch him for him to be down in the NFL, which again, I think that's a rule change they need to look at. The offensive player is submitting, then the play should be dead. Over with.
I agree with that.
You're not going to have that.
I agree with that. But then that takes it. Okay. So if that were the case, though, and let's say that you had somebody that touches the ground, they've picked up a fumble, they've just caught a pass, but there's no defender, that negates a ton of plays that we have seen through the years.
That the difference is voluntarily submitting, which he clearly did.
Fair. Okay. The voluntary submission, I guess you're right. If you're giving yourself, it's kind of like sliding, isn't it? When
Yeah.
you slide and you're going feet first in a slide as opposed to taking a knee, I don't believe that you need to be touched. You are considered down at the point in which you slide because that's a voluntary give up of your right as a runner. Okay. So in that case, yeah, why do they really have that differential for a knee down as opposed to a slide down?
I don't know. But I'll tell you what, Taylor Heineke is, I know that it's going to be a challenge here, right? Because now what's his nuts is coming back.
Possibly, but do you go to Carson Wentz again? How can you do that?
I stick with Taylor Heineke myself. Did you see that throw that he made to McClure that ended up, didn't end up in a touchdown, and they end up finally, I think, settling for a field goal, but it was so on the money. That was one of the best passes I've seen all year, not just by him, but in the NFL. I mean, it landed right in his hands. That was unbelievable. I thought he played his ass off. I love the cut of his jib. I love the way he kind of reminds me a little of Brett Favre. I know that he was a huge Packer fan. I know he's a Favre fan. That's why he wears number 4. I can see some of that in his game. Hopefully his off the field pursuits aren't similar, but on the field, very similar when it comes to his chutzpah. I was impressed.
Me too. And Chad, that's something that you and I really talked about last night was the way that the Washington Commanders were playing. And we compared and contrasted this versus the way that the Packers were not necessarily playing, but the interactions themselves between the players. Washington looked and felt like they were playing with joy. And when they won that game, it was with joy. The Green Bay Packers, not to say that there wasn't joy on Sunday, because I'm sure that there was, but it felt much more like relief because that 5-game losing streak had stopped. Mike McCarthy comes back to town, and dear God, you don't want to lose to the guy that you walked out of the building in the middle of the season in 2018. That felt like a relief win. This Washington Commander team, and we've seen this when they beat the Packers, because Taylor Heineke had another one of those incredible throws, right, to Terry McLaurin on the sideline that helped Washington secure that win. It just feels like Heineke plays with such a great amount of joy. Now, Chad, real quick too, this morning's poll question on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney, also on our Facebook group page, is asking our audience members, now that week 10 is in the book, who had the biggest win? Was it the Commanders? What about Jeff Saturday and the Colts? What about the Vikings beating Buffalo? Or was it Green Bay ostensibly keeping their season alive, beating the Cowboys? 7%, Chad, right now for the Packers, 42.9% for the Vikings. The Commanders get the remainder, 50%. Not a single vote yet for the Colts.
I would say that coming out of the weekend, I would have said the Vikings, but after last night, I think that Commanders win over an undefeated Philadelphia Eagles team at home is a bigger win. Obviously, it's a bigger win for Packer fans, the people that we're speaking to. And all three of those wins were huge. And then clearly Jeff Saturday's win, it was big for him. I don't know if it was that big. I actually wasn't that surprised by that. We kind of talked about it a little bit, that was a possibility because, he's, it's fresh blood. He's an old, Colt, and he can motivate him and all those kinds of things. And that clearly happened. But I thought last night's win was huge, all things considered, especially the fact that they were undefeated. Although if you're an Eagles fan, you and I were kind of talking about this. Sometimes a loss this early is better than a loss later, as the 18-1 Patriots would tell you. I'd rather lose in the middle of the season than lose that last game in the Super Bowl, right? Being undefeated is great. And 72 Dolphins, yeah, everybody's real happy. That's awesome. But the goal is to win the championship.
Yeah, as Herm Edwards is now saying again on ESPN, since he was not criminally prosecuted, but walked out of Arizona State for things that I'm sure they'll sweep under the rug. You play to win the game. And that's what you do. But when you take a loss like this, there is something to be said about a team that, listen, the pressure for Philadelphia is also off in a lot of different ways, because now you're not going to be going against the Dolphins 14-0. Okay. The Patriots 16-0 that turned into 18-1. You're not going to have to do that, right? That's already done. So now you get to go back and play regular football. And Chad, with that said, let's pull up the graph, the graphic we have this morning about the Green Bay Packers and what last night's win against the Eagles, the Washington Commanders secured, actually did to the Packers' playoff chances. Because as we talked about yesterday, the Packers going to the postseason, it still feels like that is a bit of a stretch, but it's still within the realm of possibility. Mathematically, it is still possible. But when you see the teams here, so there are 6 playoff spots now in the NFL in each conference, right? There are 6 playoff spots. Look, Green Bay is currently 4-6. Philadelphia, Minnesota, New York, the Giants, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, the 49ers, Tampa Bay, Washington. Washington, because Tampa Bay is a division leader, is a half game out of the final playoff spot, right? Because Tampa Bay, is leading the NFC South currently. When you look at where the Packers are at then with their schedule, this is where we have to take into account the schedule. The strength of schedule, Chad, is the fifth hardest remaining schedule based upon opponents' winning percentage. You've got Tennessee, the Titans, which, as limited as they may be on the quarterback element of this thing, great defense, well coached with Mike Vrabel, incredible running back in Derrick Henry. Philadelphia, they're going to be coming for blood. They're going to be looking for a win in a big way. Chicago, the Bears. I told you off air, I think I think the Bears are a live dog this week in Atlanta. I really like them. The Rams, that one's looking more like a potential win for the Packers, with Cooper Kupp being out with a high ankle sprain and Matt Stafford regressing to like Matt Stafford of Detroit. Chad, he looked so good with Sean McVay last year. That doesn't look great right now. Minnesota, of course, that's going to be a tough game and one the Packers are always going to get up for. But Detroit, once again, Detroit is going to be one of the scariest teams to play because they're really not going to be playing for anything other than pride by the time that game comes around, we imagine. And that's another one of those games in which, the Dolphins, too, we miss them on the road. That's another real tough one. Rodgers doesn't play great in super warm weather sometimes.
Yeah, on Christmas Day against the Dolphins.
Right.
The only good thing is Packers are in Miami on 12/25. So that part they'll like.
That's good for Packer fans because Packer fans, Chad, we saw this with our own two eyes. Remember when Russell Wilson and Monty Ball's Wisconsin Badgers came to Vegas in 2011? And it was the only time Sam Boyd actually had a tailgate party and there was 40,000 people. Packer fans are going to be really excited to go to Miami on Christmas. Dude, it's snowing here now. Like it's awesome. Snowing today. It's going to I think snow tomorrow. So that is a good thing for the Packer fans. Now, is it good for the Green Bay Packers? I don't know, because as much as I was not and never really have been sold on Tua Tagovailoa as far as a quarterback is concerned, and the greatness of Tua coming out of college, I didn't see it, right? He's often injured. He's small. He doesn't have a big arm. Say what you will, the Miami Dolphins are scheming up this thing perfectly for Tua, and his passer rating over the last number of weeks has been astronomical, the efficiency in which he has been playing, and the weapons. Listen, oftentimes you get a free agent, or in this case, it was a trade, right? Tyreek Hill goes to Miami, and it doesn't work out because the guys are always getting overpaid for pass production, and it just doesn't work out. Tyreek Hill has been worth every single red fucking cent that they give up for this guy. Yeah. Because he opens up the field in a magnificent way. Then you add in a guy like Jalen Waddle, who played at Alabama with Tua. Raheem Mostert is a really good part of a dynamic little backfield. They've got a couple of backs, and then they're playing good defense. Now, you put those things in combination, Miami's a scary kind of team. I still think they're limited with Tua. And when the weather gets colder, and Chad, if you're thinking of AFC football in January and February, I don't know that Tua is a good quarterback for that because he is small. He does have smaller hands, and the way that they have to use that particular offense, that could be tricky. But right now, for what it's worth, I'm really impressed. And I say that knowing that I shit all over Tua for like 3 years, like really and truly shit all over this guy for 2 or 3 years.
I don't know if you saw, but the odds have changed for MVP. It was Josh Allen leading for a while, and after this weekend's loss and his performance wasn't all that great, Tua is now in the lead for NFL MVP. So really? You may be eating those words more than you think you are.
Wow, that would shock me, categorically shock me. But I'm now that you're bringing that up, I'm trying to think who else could really be the MVP right now. Mahomes will still be in play. The Chiefs will continue to do whatever they're going to do.
Was kind of being mentioned for a little while.
He's playing great. What about Lamar Jackson, though? Just because we didn't see him this weekend, we forget about where Lamar Jackson is. And with this Baltimore team, if they keep going the way that they were going the last couple of weeks, you could make a real strong case. Lamar could be possibly a two-time MVP.
It's not going to happen this year, but the guy that I think will eventually at some point possibly be a candidate, if not a winner of MVP, would be Cooper Kupp. Obviously, the team's not doing so well, and he just got injured. But, boy, I tell you what, that kid is just eating up the league. It's amazing what he can do and the amount of numbers he's putting up. Now being injured, that doesn't help his situation, and the team being shitty doesn't help the situation either. But I see that down the road at some point, the possibility. Obviously, he's already got Super Bowl MVP. I mean, and it's very hard for a position player like that to win MVP. It doesn't happen a lot. It's usually a quarterback or running back.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to think of the last time a wide receiver actually won the most valuable player. I can't
Jerry
recall.
Rice is one. I know that.
Well, I see Matty Ice checking in here this morning. Matty Ice says Justin Jefferson is definitely MVP worthy, no doubt. And as much as Packer fans do not want to give the Minnesota Vikings any credit because Vikings still suck, their trophy case is bare, they've never won a Super Bowl. I get it. I really do. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the play on the field right now. Vikings are 8-1. And yeah, Justin Jefferson, he would be in that category because if Kirk Cousins doesn't have Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins looks like Kirk Cousins that everybody knows.
Yes.
Right? Like if he doesn't have that guy, think of the catch that Justin Jefferson made against Buffalo. That was not just the catch of a decade. That was the catch of a franchise. There has never been. I don't care about the Minneapolis Miracle. That was a blown play by the Saints. It was a wide open lob pass that, it could have been easily picked off. That play Justin Jefferson went and made. He actually took that ball away. And I still watch that play. I've watched it 85 times. I have no idea how he was able to keep control of that ball without it touching the ground. I really don't.
Jefferson before Cup, I think, though. Well, yeah, and obviously, I'm full disclosure. Cooper Kupp is from where I'm from, so I'm always pulling for Cooper, and this whole town is pulling for Cooper. But I think even an unbiased person would say that the kid is amazing, and he's been having an amazing career. I'm just saying he has the potential. Obviously, that's a tough hill to climb, as we mentioned. That's not normally a position that wins MVP. It's harder to do. So it's one thing to do it as a quarterback. You can put up a solid year and possibly be in the running and possibly win MVP. You have to put up a unbelievable year at a wide receiver position to get MVP of the league.
You do. And was
unprecedented kind of stuff.
Was Jerry Rice the last wide receiver to win MVP? Because that's what I'm kind of struggling to think of now.
Yes, I can look that up. Why I know he won it one time. I don't remember who the last wide receiver MVP is, but I will look that up as we move forward and hopefully have an answer for you.
All right, cool. Well, as we move forward here this morning on the Sports Carnival, just want to say hi to friends. Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate. If you've got real estate needs, fellas and gals, this is really important. Go to somebody that is a full-time dedicated real estate agent that is in the know and really up to date on all the trends. Kyle goes even deeper and even further. He looks at complete market analysis with respect to the stock market, and of course works hand in hand with Midwest's mortgage team. Todd Vercruyze, also known as the Coos, and Mike Garcia are our lending partners here on the program. Preferred Insurance was over at Tony's office yesterday. He and Brian Sandmeyer are the official insurance provider of the program. Our good buddy Sean O'Neill, the O'Neill Law Firm, provides all of our legal counseling. And then when we need to pick up snow, we need to get our grass cut, or even dog poop removed, then we call our buddy Joe at Helping Hands Landscaping. Listen, we've been teasing Matt Janus this morning, and I'm looking at my phone all the time. Matt is I'm really hoping he's going to come on. Dude is busy right now. So the Eagles, Chad, they get into the postseason for the second consecutive time. I know I was talking to Matt yesterday on the phone, and there are so many different conference phone calls. So we'll kind of play this one by ear. We're anticipating Coach Janus still to come on the program in a few minutes. But if he doesn't, we'll talk again about what that Eagles win meant and what exactly they're up against Wartburg, not to be confused with Waterberg, in Iowa on Saturday. I did get a note yesterday, Chad, from Fritz Leinfelder that said there's going to be a viewing party for this Eagles game at the Eagles Nest, which is a bar that's right across the street from the campus. It's a real hot spot, man, really hot spot. So there's going to be a viewing party at the Eagles Nest for the game. If you can't make the 2.5-hour trip to Wartburg, then you can make the 2.5-mile trip to the Eagles Nest.
I am wrong. I thought for sure Jerry Rice won the MVP. Apparently he did not win the MVP, and I do not see a wide receiver on this list.
Really? Mostly
quarterbacks and, a couple of running backs, obviously Barry Sanders, Marshall Faulk, LT, Latavian Tomlinson. Lawrence Taylor won MVP of the league, which is almost impossible in 1986.
In 1986.
Yeah.
Was he now Aaron Donald? Did he win an MVP? Because I'm struggling. You know these things a lot better than me. You kind of keep categories in your head, things that I'd never be able to remember. But there haven't been any
defensive player of the year. He's won.
He's gotten the defensive player of the year. Yeah. And as Matty Ice is talking about this morning, and we do see Matt Janus popping up. Yes, we win.
All right.
As Matty Ice is saying this morning, who's truly been a standout quarterback all season? no one I can think of, not even Josh Allen. Well, until recent games, I would have said by far Josh Allen. Josh Allen was playing out of his mind. But now, after the last couple of games, yeah, that I think is still much in the air. Well, let's do this. Let's take a quick pause for the cause, because when we come back, we're going to talk to UWL's head football coach, Matt Janus. The Eagles back in the postseason, 9-1 this year, and they're flying high. Stay tuned. You're listening to and watching the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. I sometimes watch birds, and if I wonder if I could fly, who would I shit on? It's quite a few. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Oh, we all know birds aren't real, Chad. Stop
They're
it.
not. I forgot.
Birds aren't real. Welcome back to the program, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Sports Carnival and the Carousel is getting all tuned up. Matt Janus, UWL head football coach, whose team, Chad, beat Platteville 31-10 on Saturday at Roger Herring Stadium, earned themselves a trip to the NCAA D3 playoffs for the second consecutive season. Coach Janus, top of the morning, man. I was thinking about you and wondering, with all the different conference phone calls, the things that you're having to do right now, if you'd be able to actually join us this morning. So really appreciate your time, brother. How you feeling, man? It looks like you're glowing right now.
Hey, guys. What's up, Chad?
Congratulations, Coach. Really, seriously, we're all behind you. This is
Thank
awesome.
you. No, I appreciate it.
So, Coach, before we get into Wartburg, the trip that's going to be taking place on Saturday, and we're trying to, again, drum up all these Eagle fans to go, or at least go to the Eagles' Nest and show some support if they can't make it down. Let's talk about the game versus Platteville, because it was senior day. It was cold, but the atmosphere was electric at Roger Herring Stadium. You guys started off right away on a great foot. Cade Garcia had an incredible game. I believe he earned Player of the Game honors for you guys on the offensive side. So let's talk a little bit about that Platteville game and what the game plan was, Coach, going into it, and how you were able to pull off that really, really important victory against what was a tough team.
Yeah, and really kind of credit to the way our offense started the game. We needed them to start fast, we felt, to maybe put some pressure on their offense in turn. So our guys did a phenomenal job on the offense side of the ball, starting off fast and getting us 2 touchdowns right away on those first 2 possessions. And then, as the game went on, we preached all week on offense about staying on schedule and staying on schedule. And that was really hard to do against their front four. Their front four, number 2, number 98, exceptional, phenomenal players. And so they actually knocked us off schedule quite a bit throughout that game. But I thought our offense did a phenomenal job on 3rd and long and being able to convert 3rd and longs and extend drives and force drives. To be able to convert that. That was just huge as the game went on. And then, really what our offense enabled us to do then was it took a lot of pressure off our defense. It forced them to kind of become one-dimensional. It forced them to have to throw the ball. So we played really on the defense almost the entire second half. We played really, really soft and just kind of let them take everything kind of in between and let them kind of chip away at it from 5 yards. And we really essentially ended up playing. By the time we got to the 4th quarter, we were playing about 1 coverage. And again, just trying to force them to sacrifice time for plays. And so, I thought our defense really did a good job there. And then obviously we got our front four going. And obviously Jack Kelly then goes off again for the 3rd straight game. I think he's had I think it's 8.5 sacks now in the last 3 games, with 14 quarterback hits in the last 3 games. It's absolutely ridiculous what he's doing up front. So our offense put us in that kind of situation where then our defense can just kind of tee off with our front four.
So, Chad, I was talking to Coach Janus briefly right before halftime, and as he was going to the locker room, asked him what the keys to the second half were going to be, and it actually worked out exactly as planned. And that's one of those things, Coach, that rarely happens in the game of football, because as we saw last night, Washington beats Philly, and these things happen, balls bounce in different ways. But you said exactly what needed to happen was what happened, and that was let the Pioneers go ahead and chip away a little bit at this, and then make sure to keep them between the numbers. You guys did great. Again, victorious 31-10. And Matt, your 9-1 season now is the most wins for an Eagles team in decades. As an Eagles coach, coming from such, a great background already. I mean, you coached at Platteville. You and Mike, basically restarted this whole university program. How does it personally to know that you're in really rare air with the great Roger Herring, who was a 2-time national champion winner?
I don't think I'm in any of that part of it. I just know this. I got handed this program. It was in a really good spot. And Mike and Coach Schmidt did a phenomenal job. Where I came in and just tried to add my own personality to it. And the biggest thing is I put, like I said, I still don't know if I know what I'm doing, but I got great people around me. I really do. And I lean heavily on my coaching staff, the offense side of the ball, to all the guys on the defense side of the ball. I lean heavily on those guys, and they do a phenomenal job, not just with coaching, but they're great people around me. And I think that's first and foremost. And they're great human beings, and they understand they're in this profession for the right reasons. They treat our kids the right way. And then the second part of that is I have great kids. I do. And that's just our culture. Our senior class is truly special. They have spread our culture. They do. I don't have problems. I don't deal with any problems. I just coach football all day long. Our senior class handles everything. We have a great culture. And a big part of that is our university too, is the type of students that we have here at UW La Crosse. And so then, and obviously the city of La Crosse, like that all reflects the guys in our football program. So I got phenomenal people, whether it's on the coaching staff or with our players.
Yeah, shout out to Kim Bloom, your athletic director, Dave Johnson, your SID, and everybody, all of your fantastic coaches. I was chopping it up a little bit with Coach Anderson on the sideline before the game too, and I said, listen, if you guys win, are you going to get pizza with the right kind of flop? Because Chad, Coach Anderson, he is all about the pizza with the flop. Don't give this fucking guy any hard crust.
What does that mean?
It's the flop, the pizza that it folds down like the New York style
pizza.
You got to have the flop on there. And so
Okay.
Coach A assured me that he was going to get some pizza with good flop.
That's great.
Speaking of seniors, I reached out to this young man the other day. He had class, which we completely understand. We're going to work him into the program at some time. Senior kicker Ryan Byrne. We've talked about Ryan Byrne a couple of different times, and I know that in a lot of football conversations, the kicker isn't somebody that just jumps off the page and gets to be one of the topics of conversation. But on Saturday, Coach, Ryan Byrne set a school record. He had tied the one Jedediah Jensen had set many years ago. He tied that last week. Well, on Saturday, he kicked his 32nd career field goal. And this season isn't over, obviously, but I did ask Ryan if he was going to be open for a tryout. If the NFL says, hey, come on and give us a tryout. He's like, I guess I should just, Matt, tell me about this. Do you get calls from teams ever about players like Ryan Byrne? I know that we've had, other guys go play professionally. We've got some right now that are playing in Europe, actually, UWL grads. When you get calls about guys, I mean, what are those conversations like? Is it a scouting feel out? I mean, because this dude has a boot, and this looks like the kind of player that could play in the NFL because he plays outdoors, he plays in weather, he plays in cold weather, and he's consistent, man. I don't know what his exact percentage is, but it's fucking high. I mean, this kid kicks a really good percentage of these field goals in. So what are those conversations like about players like Ryan Byrne?
Yeah, he's a pretty special player. Yeah, he really is. And everybody forgets too. He's also playing receiver and had a massive catch on a third down conversion on Saturday as well. And he's playing on our punt team. He's one of our biggest pieces on the edge in our punt team. So he's not just a kicker, but he's a phenomenal kicker with that, has an excellent leg, has the leg power, a pretty special career, especially when you look at UW La Crosse, especially when you look at the tradition that we have here as a football program and all the great players that have played here at UW La Crosse. And so to have him do that it means a lot. It's pretty special. And then, yeah, I think he does have the leg power. And we always encourage our guys, keep playing. Don't ever stop playing. Play as long as you can. It's the greatest game in the world, so play as long as you can. We have guys in Europe. Cole Speaker right now from our 2019 team is now up. He had catches in the CFL final the other day. He was on the practice squad essentially almost all year, and they brought him up basically. I think it was the last game of the regular season. And they were the Alouettes were competing to go to the playoffs.
Yes.
And Cole gets brought up, has some catches, played throughout the playoffs, now has a catch in the CFL game. So we do. I mean, they reach out, those guys, and credit to them. And I tell everybody, if you're good enough, they find you. They scour everything. They talk to coaches. You send them stuff at the beginning of the year. They keep an eye on everything. So if those guys are good enough, they find you.
All right, Coach, let's do this. Let's transition over to Wartburg. And Chad, while we've got Coach Janus on, if you can pull up that other that graphic that we had from yesterday. So Wartburg, Iowa, not to be confused with Waterburg, which Chad and I both read wrong when we first had this up on screen. But Wartburg is a team that the Eagles, in at least the history of the program, are a little familiar with. You've met 4 times in the past. The Eagles lead the all-time series, Coach Janus, 4-0. What do we know about this Wartburg team? We know nothing, myself and Chad included, but what do we, the royal we as a collective, know about Wartburg, and what are you up against this upcoming Saturday?
Yeah, they have a great tradition as a football program. They do. They've been the top of their conference for a long time. They are kind of one of those blue bloods in Division III football. They just are. They have a phenomenal program, and no different this year. Undefeated, 10-0. They played a couple teams that we played. UW Stout. They played some good teams in their conference, in Central and Dubuque, and so they've had a great year. Really kind of right now, a lot of people talk about their defense. Really good defensive front. Really get after the quarterback. Play kind of that crush front where they're going to crush the interior A's and B's, and got a really nice Mike linebacker. That dude can run, he can play. So really good up front, and then obviously that kind of transitions into the secondary, not giving up a lot of points. They are keeping teams off the scoreboard, and then as you switch gears to their offense side of the ball, they got 2 really nice running backs, really good players, do a lot of different things with them that you don't traditionally see in terms of some split back stuff, and you start to see they got some really shifty backs. Those 2, 21 and 24, really good players for them. And then I really like their quarterback. He is a phenomenal player. I think he's really accurate with the football. I think he has a great pocket awareness. He is able to, I don't think he's he can scramble if he wants. I don't think he's this crazy athlete where he's going to run for 100 yards in a game, but what his pocket awareness and how he can step up and extend plays and get the ball out, and he's very accurate when he gets the ball out. I think he's a really nice player. So it's going to be a really good game between 2 really good teams, and that's what's left now. That's what's left. You're one of 32 teams right now competing for a national championship, and there's only good teams left. And so we're going to start right off the bat with a really good one, and it's going to be a fun day. Like I said, I love these type of environments. I love when you have 2 really good football teams playing against each other on Saturday. It's going to be a physical game. It's going to be, a game where I think there's going to be some explosive plays, and here we go.
All right, here we go. The playoffs are all about, like you said, great teams playing against each other. The competition ratchets up. I was thinking about the UWL Eagles, Chad, with respect to the Philadelphia Eagles. And Chad mentioned something to me, Coach, last night. We're watching this game and sort of getting ourselves prepared that Philadelphia losing that game last night might have actually been a benefit for them because they don't have the pressure of going through an undefeated season. Not that you ever want to lose as a coach, but when you took that, let's just call it really tough loss at home to Whitewater, which everybody in attendance was, just gasping because it was such an exciting game. When you take a loss like that and you take it in the position of the season in which you did, does that help you as a football team, as a coaching staff, recalibrate and readjust not only expectations, but what needs to be done in these big moments against these big teams in order to be victorious?
I think we did. Obviously, I think we came out stronger, which was the goal, right? You can't have that and then come out worse or let that sit. And that was a tough loss. It really was. And our guys put a lot on the line, but came out stronger out of it. We're able to learn how to react to some of those situations because guess what? We saw it again at Oshkosh. We saw it again at River Falls and those type of games. And then we had obviously a huge one just this last weekend. So I was really proud of the way our kids came out of it. And then, they were able to come out of it so strong that we actually ended up finishing our goal and finishing and winning our 34 fourth conference title. So we're able to come out of that and still have success. And again, that's a credit to the kids that we have, and that's a credit to our coaching staff.
Well, Coach Janus, it's always our pleasure to have you on the program. UWL goes to Wartburg, Iowa. Saturday, game's going to be at noon. 2.5-hour drive from La Crosse, from what I'm being told, unless Jeremy Foreman drives, in which case that is a 45-minute trip from La Crosse to Wartburg, Iowa. Coach Janus, as always, appreciate you, man. I love you guys, and go Eagles, baby.
Go Eagles.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything, and go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
The official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest Mortgage Team of Land Home Financial, my good buddies Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Listen, we all know the mortgage industry is in a bit of an upheaval right now, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to a couple of guys that you can trust, a local operation right here in La Crosse. That is the Midwest Mortgage Team. Again, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi of Land Home Financial. Don't make a mistake with your mortgage needs. Go to the official mortgage provider of the Sports Carnival, the Midwest Mortgage Team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi.
Hey, it's Todd Vercruzzi's Hot Tubs and Jacuzzis with a big announcement for the next 2 months. When you buy a hot tub or jacuzzi, you get a pair of tickets for the Big Couz's Booze Cruise. Headed to Cabo. So sop that mop and then come pop a top with me, the Couz.
Sop that mop is a slang term for wet bush.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the Sports Carnival. You know, Pete Rose once said, I'd be willing to bet you, if I was a betting man, that I never bet on baseball. Really, Pete? Really? Okay. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Yeah, Pete Rose also said once famously, are you 18? I don't care. Come on, let's go on a date. Fuck Pete Rose. That's a pedophile. All right, Chad, I want to say what's up here because wow. I can't get over that Todd Vercruzzi's Booze Cruise. I really can't. That's hilarious. And I'm seeing a couple of comments come to us from our Podbean live stream. Now, this first comment comes to us from Dumb Cumpster, which says, nice tits. And then we've got somebody else that says, Bliss Walker says hi. So to Bliss Walker, hi. And to Dumb Cumpster, thank you. I also agree. We have nice tits. I appreciate that.
Oh, is he talking to me?
I don't know. I could listen. My bosom is robust. I like this.
It's just this Podbean, though. He can't see anything. He's just listening.
That's fair. That's fair. How did we know that? How did we know that?
He doesn't know what my tits look like.
Well, I would suggest.
I don't think I have to share that with anybody, damn it.
You don't have to share. I'm a voyeur. I'll share just because you asked me to. But Dumb Cumpster, I would imagine if you go to our YouTube page at the Sports Carnival, you could watch and then actually take a gander at the good-looking fellas that are on the screen and what our manly mammaries look like.
Oh, mammaries. That was great. You know what? Coach Janus is just my favorite guest that we have. He's so positive. He's so humble. And he's got a great team. And like he said, he's surrounded by great people and he appreciates that. And that's rare because it's easy, especially when you do well and you're the head of something, to let your ego kind of take the lead, which is natural. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but clearly he's not that kind of guy. I mean, he's just a good guy. I mean, I don't know how any other way to put it. And he's a great guest. And I'm just really excited for the Eagles.
I agree 110%. He's got great timing, Chad. He's got an absolutely perfect ability to sense an out when it needs to be done. And
yes,
it's almost like he's been practicing this with me for the last couple of years. And I tell people often, and I talk to Matt about this every Tuesday during the middle of the COVID pandemic, the year off, not year off because there was no year off, but the year without actual football, what that did for this guy and his coaching staff, the connectivity that needed to happen, the creativity in which they needed to implore in order to keep that connectivity, what was some high level shit, man. It really was. And we don't have time to go into all of what they did, but every piece of technology that was available to be used was used. The University of Wisconsin La Crosse spared literally no expense in keeping these guys connected together as tightly as they possibly could, considering the circumstances. And Chad, I know that Matt Janus mentioned he took over for a great coach in Mike Schmidt, and he did. But the expectations, if they would have played football in, say, some scattered year where there were games that were canceled, ad hoc, no fans in attendance, all the different things that could have potentially happened, in my estimation, would have been a detriment because you come off the expectations of a great coach that's now gone to a Division II school, leveled up. Well, what do you follow that? Matt Janus, because of the incredible, societal and just, medical conditions that we were under, had to be so creative. And this team has literally jumped off the page since he began his football coaching on the field. This is the second consecutive trip to the postseason, Chad. This was a team that hadn't made the postseason in like 20 some years. So this is real. And what they call the team at the university is #TheExperience. And I've been saying this all season. The experience is real, and you need to take part in it. If you can't go to Wartburg, which I get it, it's a longer drive. Many fans will, but if you can't go there, like I mentioned yesterday, Fritz Leinfelder, Chad, told me, and he's a former Eagle, a guy that if he hadn't dunked on 16 people in a 5-on-5 basketball game, and I know my math is weird there, but he was dunking over that many people, as the story continues to grow, probably would have been an NFL safety from all accounts. And he mentioned to me yesterday, Chad, that there will be a viewing party for the Eagles game at the Eagles Nest, which is the bar right across the street. Dave, the owner, is a great guy, great friend of myself, great friend of Matt from the recovery room. So I know that I can say that, and he won't be sour, because I don't think the recovery room is going to have that game on. But if they did, you could watch it there too. I know for a fact, though, the Eagles Nest will have it in. Look, it's one of these situations, Chad, in a city like this where you really do see a community come together. And what we talked about to begin the show, the horrifying nature of just what can be life. It makes you want to look for these stories, these kinds of moments in time where you can feel a sense of connectivity and you can actually feel a sense of community. And brother, I wish you were here for at least a couple of days, because you would be overcome. It really is so fantastic the way that interact with the community at large. And for all the players that we didn't mention, I know we talked about Ryan Byrne and Cade Garcia, quarterback. For all the players that we didn't mention, and your parents on senior day, congratulations, because it was a great atmosphere. And I just really was so happy to see so many people come out, brave some of that cold weather. Chad, it's at least it was, oh man, I'm looking out like it. I've got my blackout curtains closed. Dude, there is white fucking stuff all over out there. There's white stuff. But people brave conditions, and they came out, showed a lot of support. And the Eagles, of course, beat Platteville 31-10. I'm just so excited for this team.
I'm gathering, if it's only 2.5 hours away, there's a possibility in Wartburg, which I'm glad it's Wartburg, because Waterburg's actually further.
Right.
I know. But Wartburg, I'm sure it's going to have snow too. So there's going to probably be some elements in this game, right? Which always makes it even more fun, in my opinion, especially if I'm not the one playing. But if I'm the one watching, I'm like, yes, this is great. This is real football. I'm always talking about real football, and you got to get in the elements and all that. It's because I'm not the one out there, but I'm gathering that's probably going to be the case. Would you agree with that?
It feels like it. The temperature, or at least the predictive, and I haven't looked for that part of the country because it's not far from here, but it looks like we might be cold, really cold, like in the 20s with lows in the teens or even single digits. But it feels like the aridness will be holding over that area. So it doesn't look like we'll have snow, but this is the problem then. You don't have snow, but you have frozen ground, right? You have wind that whips. That can sometimes be a little worse, because snow actually means you're in that, it can't get too cold and still snow. So when you get snow, it's like in that 30-ish range, right? You can get to a certain 20s, but after a certain kind of temperature, at least here in Wisconsin, it just gets too cold to snow. And then it just becomes brutal for a whole other reason.
Yeah, because when you get hit when it's really, really cold, that's no fun.
It hurts more than it does when you get hit when it's hot. I know it sounds stupid, but it's true.
It does. It stings. Terry Saltzman's asking you because if you've asked me, I'll probably end up losing you money.
Yeah.
Here are the games my numbers tell me to bet on this week.
Okay.
What are your thoughts here?
Oh, it's fun because we were talking about this a little bit off air. These particular games. Okay. So Titans plus, okay, let me just switch over, and my computer screen is right here in front of me. All right. So the Titans, this is a game that I would say is a probable bet, because Tennessee, listen, they're playing Green Bay. The +8, I don't know where you're getting this. This must be a teaser, because the number opened Tennessee +1. It is now Tennessee +3. So I'm assuming that Terry is putting together
3. It says 3 there.
Oh, does it? Okay. I thought it said Tennessee +8. I'm going back and forth between these two screens. Yeah. So Tennessee +3. Okay. That's okay. Let's see. The Panthers 12.5. Carolina, Baltimore. Yeah. I think that you could make a case for that. PJ Walker's been better than bad. The Browns +9.5. Look, does Cleveland get back to Sean Watson this week, though? Because I think it was after week 11, right? Okay, so one more week, and then Deshaun Watson can come back. The Browns plus 9.5, that's a live dog I would actually look at because Cleveland shouldn't be this bad. Buffalo, over the last couple of weeks, has shown that they have some weaknesses. And one of the things that Buffalo can't do, it seems, is really kind of stop the run. And if you get a team like Cleveland to go heavy with Bradley or Nick Chubb, that might be okay. The Commanders -3, I think that you can go ahead and say maybe to that. Washington versus Houston, 2.5 in Houston. We'll see. Taylor Heineke is an up and down quarterback, but that feels like an okay bet. The Lions +3, I don't like that one. And the Cardinals +8. Let's see, who was Arizona playing this week then? I've got that San Francisco. Ooh, is Colt McCoy going to be playing quarterback, or is Kyler Little Dude Murray going to be playing quarterback? Because if it's Colt McCoy, Terry, I'm actually kind of feeling the Cardinals in this one to cover. I like that one. If it's Little Murray, I don't. Listen, Colt McCoy to me just feels like a better suited quarterback for that team. I know Kyler's flashy and he can run around, and when he makes those plays with those little teeny legs, it looks really cool. But man, this guy, he can't play traditional quarterback. He's too small. You know what I mean? He's too small.
Wow. Yeah, he's like a little Doug Flutie. He got a little Doug Flutie.
Like a little Doug Flutie. Like Doug Flutie probably was tall. I met Doug Flutie in Vegas that year that they had the UFL, and Doug Flutie was one of the commentators. He wasn't as small as I thought. As a matter of fact, I had a friend of mine at the time. Her parents had a box of Flutie Flakes. They were big Bills fans from back in the day. That was the highlight of Doug's, I think, that year was actually having somebody come to him. And I brought the box and I brought this family up. I had these guys come and say, hey, would you sign this box of Flutie Flakes? He had a great big smile. And I'm not, tall guy, but 5'10.5". Dude, Doug Flutie is taller than me. Kyler Murray, I think, is shorter than I am. I think Kyler Murray is like 5'9".
Yeah. Which is, for a quarterback, is short. But remember that was always biggest slight on Flutie. He was too short, couldn't see over the line. Jeremy Foreman says San Francisco versus Cards in Mexico City. That is correct, as our international games continue.
Gotcha. And he also, P12 Foreman said PJ Walker is out. Mayfield is back in that week. Well, then in that case, Terry, I reserve the right to change my play on the Panthers plus 12.5. No. With Baker Mayfield playing quarterback, no. Just go ahead and load up the other way. Baker Mayfield's horrible. And when you get benched and replaced by PJ Walker, yeah, that's right. XFL former, what was it, Temple quarterback PJ Walker. That's like a remnant from Matt Rule because they played, he played for him at Temple. That's not good. And probably, not good.
I would say Baker Mayfield, though, is pretty decent in those commercials that involve Alabama a lot. I don't know if you've seen those ones with Barry Sanders and he's inside and there's an elephant in the room. I think he's really good at that, and he's good at headbutting, from my understanding. Other than that, I agree with you.
Listen, he reminds me of another quarterback for the Cleveland Browns that was supposed to be good, Brady Quinn, that did exactly what he was supposed to do early. Take all the money for the endorsements that you can get because you don't know how long your career is actually going to be. And Baker got all those commercials, right, with him and his wife at the stadium, and they were funny. I think Baker Mayfield, to be fair, probably has a better, longer future in broadcasting. Look at what Brady Quinn does now. I love Brady Quinn's takes. I really do. I think he is.
Me too.
First of all, he's a very handsome man, so he looks great on television. But the way that he explains the game and the way that he comes off, I think, is great. I think Baker Mayfield could have very much a similar career path there. Look, just because you're a great college football player doesn't mean you're going to be a great NFL player. And 50% of the guys in the NFL on a year-by-year basis are undrafted, right? So that means that half of the picks are absolute busts and are categorically out of the league every other year by attrition. So, Baker's great college career, it was what it was, but it never really looked like that was going to necessarily dictate that he would have that success. And if you're Cleveland, I know that Josh Allen's had a couple of rough weeks, but how long do you really have to slap yourself in the forehead and be like, we literally didn't take Saquon Barkley or Josh Allen or whatever, and we took Baker Mayfield. I think we took Baker Mayfield because he planted a flag, and I wonder how often these executives get enthralled by what they see on ESPN. That's just a curious thing. Listen, we didn't have time to talk about the Bucs. They lost to the Hawks last night. It's cool. The Bucs are going to be back in action on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, Bally Sports Network. Giannis didn't hurt his knee, thank God. Played 31 minutes. Drew Holiday should be back. Have a great day, guys. Chad, you did awesome as always. And thanks to Matt Janus.
Yes, thanks, Matt. Go Eagles. And, of course, hashtag Deadball Bitching.